Okay, we'll get started because I know you have another one at 10.
I do too. Not even in here, somewhere else.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought it was. Thought y'all were in here at 10.
No, we got a team.
Okay.
I didn't what y'all
For
saying.
the water,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I emailed you 2 job descriptions a couple weeks ago.
I'm gonna get those.
And I could have printed them all, but I didn't print any of it. So what I would like to request is we are posting a electrical distribution engineer, which is our entry-level engineer position. And I'm requesting that I can post it the same grade that you up the civil engineer position for the gas department. It's actually equivalent jobs, except ours requires a engineering degree, where theirs requires just a bachelor degree, is the only pretty much difference. Would you agree with that, Belinda? I'd be happy to look at it. If y'all haven't already.
When I looked at it
Okay.
in the email.
Oh, yeah, I can't
I
find
printed
it.
myself a copy, but I didn't print.
So has from what I remember on the gas department, it was upped because we weren't getting applicants, is that, do I remember?
They felt like there weren't sufficient applicants.
Okay. Have we taken any applicants on this one yet?
We have not, but I only, I'm requesting it before we put it out, because, I feel like if that one was able to, it's shared amongst all the employees when these jobs are posted. You can go online and actually see all these jobs posted. So since it's an entry-level position, I just, would like to have it graded the same. Does that make sense? Before we publicize it.
Grade to 5 now, right?
It's graded a 5
And
currently.
we went to a 6.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you, does it warrant a 6 or is it,
The positions don't, they both grade to the 5,
Mhm.
same 5.
okay, and we did Tad because, that we weren't getting any applications at all, is that correct?
Or it just didn't feel like that the ones that he was getting, he felt like he would get more quality applicants if the pay were increased.
I think that, and y'all may not agree with this, I think that one of the hardest things we have is, and I'm sure other businesses do, but, sometimes when we bring people in, and we bring them in, maybe it's a new position, and if the word gets out, then everybody's gotta have the same thing, and we've gotta start. So, is there a better system? And I'm not speaking to this, I'm just speaking across the board. I mean, it's kinda like getting a raise, and is everybody supposed to get that increase? Does that make any sense?
Oh, yeah, it's Pandora's box.
And it's an ongoing problem here in the city, cause you got this church, well, they got so-and-so, and I need it so-and-so. And some of the other positions all across the board, and it's pretty difficult.
Mary, did anything else in your position change? Because one of the other things that I noted when I was looking through those is that your position requires a 24-hour on-call responsibility, which as someone who also has that in my professional life, I think that is a big issue too. You have to be responsive and responsible at all hours of the day, at weekends, holidays, and all that. So I didn't know if there was anything else that changed about what your job description was, or if this is just a grade change based on TADS.
It's just a grade change based on task. So all our engineers are required, basically. They have an on-call week, but they're honestly required to be on call 24/7. As you can tell from the storms that have hit, and not only are they required to be on call, they don't get paid overtime, ever. And
Because
so-
they're salaried in that
because
way,
they're
and they're on
salaried.
call that
We
way.
used to have a exemption for that when it was larger storms, but that was removed, so we don't have that anymore.
Do
So-
they get comp time,
We do not have comp time at the electricity
so
department.
they don't get to take off later in the week or anything like that?
So,
Oh, I'll ask in a moment.
And most of our engineers have worked over 100 hours already this year, overtime.
but you're saying they get a normally, just regular thing, they'd get a week.
They're
when they don't call.
assigned They'll rotate through, all my engineers rotate through an on-call week. But when we have big outages like we've had this spring, we all
Everybody on
have to
deck.
be there, and so we're all there.
Is this
No matter
also
what.
a union position?
It is not a union
Okay.
position. Mhm. And when we have to require to do after-hours switching, we require 2 engineers just for the safety aspect of it to verify one another's thoughts. Because it's a big safety hazard when we do switching, and so, you know, the backup person to the on-call comes in and assists with switching.
Do we feel, at the last council meeting, we approved the,
Compensation now?
compensation, and this is a question, I guess, for you, Melinda. Do we need to do this now, or do we need to wait until we get that information back?
That is a good question.
Well, and how long will that be, do we think? That,
I don't
The
know.
analysis is gonna take, with the benefits component, 4 to 6 weeks.
okay.
And we really need to post a job sooner than then.
Are you
Because
down
everyone's
one head count?
graduating. Excuse me?
Is it one head count that you're
No.
down on this engineering position?
Well, actually, we have 3 of these positions, but we're only gonna have 1 this year and hopefully 1 next year.
Okay.
Well,
So,
what my concern is, let's say that we do this, and then the analysis comes back and it's like, oh, well, that was wrongly graded. It's not appropriate to then step that back. So that's my concern. I don't know that. This is just a supposition based on the fact that we're just endeavoring on this. But that's the step that I'm a little concerned with.
I understand. We actually reached out to the University of Alabama, and they said that their common entry level engineers that are graduating start at 75 to 85,000. We did a look into this is no, I don't have Luke's. Luke looked up. I didn't print Luke's. We had. Let me pull up his email. I'll show you this.
Did
This
you
was,
also call Auburn, the engineering school?
We didn't get anyone to answer the phone at Auburn. We tried Auburn. So.
Yeah, but
We
those
actually
are-
tried UAH also.
Those are private sector numbers, and governmental agencies and nonprofits are never going to be able to compete with private sector numbers. And typically, it's made up on the benefit side, you know, where it can be. And so that's the downside of all of our professional positions within the city, is we're competing with the private sector. And so this is no different, being, you know, they have an engineering degree. You know, the question I have, we started this with the position with Tad, and now, you know, this one, where does that stop? Eventually, we run out of budget. I'm kind of agreeing with Michelle on it'd be nice to have this analysis, you know, because do we have a problem citywide right now with this? And we don't want to just keep revisiting this as a one-on-one basis.
We think we do, but we don't have the data that supports that. And that's what we really need.
Well, the biggest difference, I will say, is ours does require a real engineering degree, which is very hard to obtain.
Oh, yeah.
And that one does not even require an engineering degree. So even though it's labeled engineer, it doesn't require an engineering degree.
but that position's gonna, that person, hadn't looked at is gonna be required to have an engineering degree within X amount of time. Is that right?
It just requires a degree, and then in a related field. It's a degree requirement, it's just not, it doesn't have to be in engineering.
Correct.
And I think there's 2 things I want to point out that I think will help with context. One, for the comp analysis as it stands today, it only includes technical positions. So you're looking at your wireman, your journey, well, pretty much your linemen, because wiremen are the same, and then tree crew and on down. So it's not going to include any administrative positions, and this one would be on that side of it. So right now, this position is not included.
Okay.
And so for that, then I would turn around and say, even if they were to be included, and this is going to be Mary and Tad, both Mary and Tad's departments, Tad's going to run into the issue of having to back that salary down because he's already has someone in the position, that this exact same position on his side. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, if that's going to be an issue, it's going to be an issue today for Tad. having the same position in his department. So I just want to throw that out there.
No, that's really great context, because I know when we approved it, we did open a pathway that if we wanted to include this, we had a pathway to do it. Like, we were like, okay, this may not be enough, we might need some more information. So is it possible for us to pursue this singular one with Mary, and then put a hold on others until such a time as we get the analysis back?
And we would like to, I mean, Melinda and I have talked about it. When we get the analysis back, you know, there's a good chance that the supervisor positions are gonna be showing that we currently have will be less than what their people they're supervising are showing that they're making. And so the supervisor positions are gonna have to be addressed. We were just gonna address them later if you all allowed it, so. Does that make sense?
Well, my concern,
It does make sense, thank
is
you.
to me, we've kind of opened up the lid, but, I mean, we have a salary scale. We've got a salary, and I don't know how much work's been into that, I don't know when the last time it was upgraded or whatever, or what's changed. But now we're going outside that and bumping up individual stuff. And like, you know, we gone from, we did TAD, we did a 5 to 6. Did it really warrant a 6? Should have probably stayed at a 5, I don't know. But he couldn't get anybody to apply. Now we're doing the same thing on the other side. Going from a 5 to a 6 when it really doesn't warrant a 6, it warrants 5. Then where's it, and I like Michelle's thing, just put a hold on the thing, and not change, but I mean, it's like we've got a schedule, we've got a plan, we got a scale, whatever, but we're going above it. I mean, we're taking our own hands. Well, maybe this needs to be a 6. So we do it when the research or whatever went into it said it's a 5. Well, we're overriding that. And I think if we're not careful, we're getting ourselves deeper in the mud.
And I would, if it's okay to mention that the reason that the comp analysis is taking place is because the tool that we have, and I've talked about before, the factor analysis, is really not suitable for factoring those positions. And those really are best done by a market study. But the administrative positions that Mary's referring to can be done by the factor. So that's why those are excluded from this study. You know, so because keeping it consistent, if we're saying that all of our positions need to be graded out using the factor analysis because that's the tool that we have, then we would use it across the board, unless that's something that if the market analysis comes in and it's high, then we would have to look at that wage gap to allow for supervisory controls.
Let me ask one more thing. I know that in this one it says must be able to obtain a PE within 5 years. Are they required?
We require all our new engineers to have a PE.
All right, but this says must be able to. Does it need to have stronger language?
Well, I mean, that's basically saying they're required, but,
But they don't have to have it when they come in.
no, they won't. They're entry level, so they will not have it. They're required to take there's a test you have to take when you graduate. It's called the Fundamentals of Engineering and Training test, and you have to pass that. And then once you pass that, you go through a 4-year process where you have to train under a professional engineer. And once you train under the professional engineer, then after those many years, you are able to take the professional engineer
Okay.
test. Mm-hmm.
So it's built in that way for that reason.
Well, the sentence before that on 4 must have or can obtain an EI. But the statement 5 says just must be able. So should we say must have or must earn?
I mean, I'm good with either. I mean, because we require that of all of our engineers,
So
our
your
current engineers. We have some engineers that don't currently have that, but all of our new hires we are requiring.
young engineers, Tyler
And
and
Luke,
Jones
well,
and
Jones doesn't have, he's got another year before he can take the test.
okay.
Would this position be leapfrogging anyone that came in at entry level and is still there? And then they're a newer employee?
No, this will be a complete entry-level position.
I just worry about the unintended consequences, because I get this too from other employees within the city, that this person has their CDL, but yet they're not paid at the same wage that another person in another department has, that has a CDL when they're hired in. And it's the same requirement to obtain that CDL, and so it makes me, question, do we need I'm not saying a complete overhaul, but a complete analysis of how we pay all of our employees, so that we're, not going into these unintended consequences as we go down the road with these things.
And one other option is, and I don't know if we have this as a formula, and we may not, but I have seen and heard some government sector jobs, they do step increases so that budgetarily it's not overwhelming to get someone in and up immediately, but you do step increases where over the course of, say, 3 to 5 years, the person is then at the market for it. And then you say, okay, this will be it this year and then this year, so that budgetarily you can manage it. I know it would be totally different, and I know if we don't do that, that would be a whole new way to do it. But at the same time, it would, if this were to have these unintended consequences that Jackie is mentioning, and that's a very real issue, and especially with the scale and scope that this could go, that may be one of the only ways that we can manage it financially. So I don't know if the analysis will tell us. I don't know if we do need to expand it to be different. But I mean, Mary, what you're talking about, these are highly skilled individuals, and I completely understand what you're saying. They're educated, they have to be on call, but we have to balance that with what we can afford to do, not just today, but forever.
Would you all be opposed if we went ahead and did a full analysis for our department? And Tad would, when you meet with Tad next hour, I'm sure he would share those same sentiments. We've had this conversation with Melinda. Instead of just doing our hourly employees, do our whole.
I would need to
As a
absorb that for a
whole.
little bit.
Well, and I think we would just need to review, because that would then mean a restructuring of the contract that we approved, or
It's
would be
built
totally.
in already.
So, right.
Melinda can
but-
speak on that more than I can. But.
Well, I would, when we originally did it, we included 42 positions based on individually listing out each of the positions that were gonna be what we would consider technical or skilled labor. So then I discovered that everybody below the lineman are a percentage, because of the union, the way the union's structured, of the lineman's pay. So we're gonna have in the position extra. They're gonna set the lineman pay, and then everybody beneath that's subject to it is gonna be a percentage of that pay. So those positions that we included to be individually analyzed would be up for being able to be used for something else in the department.
So we aren't currently going to use the 42 positions that are listed. In
So they weren't included as to do the whole department, but I think just based on the way that their pay is, there will be some positions left open that can be substituted
Does
at
that
the
make
end
sense?
of the survey.
Okay, let me ask this question.
Wait, Blake, can you hang on for that? I have a secondary question about this.
Go ahead.
So is it that we do need, are you still advocating for broadening it, or do we not need it?
What do you mean broadening?
We need broadening. We really.
What we approved Tuesday,
No, you don't. Does not have to be reapproved. It is all included. With what Melinda's saying is that she set up for 42 positions, but the electricity department, like we have a lot of, most of our hourly positions, except for just a couple, are all based off the lineman pay. And so the electricity department is probably going to need 10 of those right now, because the lineman pay will be determined, and then the rest of those positions will be backed out of that lineman pay. So like our groundman pay is a percentage of our lineman pay. Our foreman pay is a percentage. Does that make sense?
So they won't individually
Yes.
call
Okay.
the
Yes.
groundman or anything like that. They'll just say, this is what the market analysis showed for the
Gotcha.
lineman.
Okay.
And then groundman will be a percentage. or
Okay.
just
But the
percentage.
linemen are pegged to the contract.
right?
Union
Yes, the
contract.
union
Yes,
agreement.
yes,
Okay.
that's, okay,
Yes. So
thank
we
you.
have these 42 positions, but we really probably only need 10 of them,
Right.
maybe, because the rest of them, you know what I mean? So we have a lot of built-in extras. So that's why,
No,
would
that
you be
helps.
opposed, I don't know how many, maybe.
I don't know, I haven't looked.
10, maybe 15 extra that would be for including all the supervisory, my
I-
supervisory.
I'd prefer to
Employees.
stick with the plan we're thinking about now and see if we need to go beyond that once we've done it.
Well, this position would not be included in it then.
Right.
So we would have
And that,
another.
yeah, that's what's triggering this.
Mhm.
So I'm with Jackie. I would need a second to absorb it and to understand what that scale and scope would be. And then you, Melinda, give us that thought based on Mary and Tad's recommendation. I'd like to hear that from you when you are ready.
Hear my opinion on including the whole department.
Give us some time to.
Yes,
review.
absolutely. Not today. I'm saying I would like that once we have had some time to digest it. And I'm so sorry, Blake.
You're fine.
Thank you.
That's fine. My question is, okay, say for instance, they all say they're under, I mean, I don't care where you work, everybody's underpaid.
Not everybody's underpaid.
But they, in their mind, that they're underpaid. They want more money, they want more benefits, they want, benefits are not good. I mean, City of Florence has great, great benefits. I don't care what anybody says. They have benefits. Okay, what happens if this study comes in and says, okay, all these people are underpaid, need to raise them? Where's that money coming from? I mean, we've increased rates because we don't have the money to, we need, TVA says we're underfunded or whatever, so we gotta raise money for that, gotta raise rates here. And then we're going, and I will say this, and I'm sure not, I think, in that meeting we had the other day, the advisory committee, they talked about underpay and all that, and Jimmy says, well, I don't think there's anybody in here that, and I'm all for paying people what they're worth. I mean, I don't want anybody, if they're worth $20 an hour, and they're paying $15 an hour, but where's that money coming from? And not just electricity department, but general fund, the street and sanitation and, I mean, where's that, Parks and Rec, where's that money coming from if everybody's underpaid and we gotta raise them 10%, 8%, 5%? How we gonna do that? And the budget's already tight.
Yeah, and I
as it is.
think
So are we opening another can saying, yeah, we're gonna do this? And then the employees are expecting something and nothing happens and they get disgruntled.
I think
It's all
from
a
what I
trickle-down
remember,
effect.
your margin in your department's 2%. As far as the net of the
Of
operations.
the operation.
Which would obviously go into reserve in emergency situations, so, yeah, because I looked at the budget last week prior to the meeting to see, because what I worry about again is the ripple effect, because you're right, it's, everybody deals with that. Even when you give a merit raise or a step raise, word gets out. And then, where do you stop? And, before you put yourself out of business, I just feel like, I don't know, my gut tells me, Melinda, that we need a citywide analysis of our pay and benefit structure. But to me, we can't do an analysis against the private sector because that's not a fair analysis. The word I heard out of that meeting was our people are the lowest paid in the area, which I find hard to believe. I don't know if it's true or not. I've never seen
But
the
how does that
data.
compare, how does that compare to benefits?
That's right.
Absolutely.
the whole
It's the
package.
full
That
spectrum
That
has
is
to be
exactly
considered.
right. And so we need a benchmarking citywide for all departments, I think. Just threw about 6 months worth of work on you, Melinda, I guess. But,
6 years.
but to be fair to the budget and to our employees, where are we in that benchmark? Are we, middle of the road, or are we, toward one ditch or the other? And I just, as a councilman, I feel like I need to know that. And you may already know all of that, and if so, maybe I just need to set a meeting and come and see you so you can educate me
Well,
on
I
that.
think we've had several things over the years. I mean, we did the study with Auburn University
That's been a long
a
time.
long time ago. I mean, it's one of those things, it's a moving target. It keeps moving.
Well, I will say this. The people that have been chosen to perform this study, we had a really good conversation with them. And this is not going to be the study we expressed to them. We do not need the private sector included in this study. It is going to be only utility departments that are gonna be included.
Municipal utilities.
A
Well,
similar-
there'll
a
probably be some
similar-
co-ops too, because
Okay.
our size is so large, we really pair larger with the
But
co-ops.
similar
versus-
size.
Yes, this is gonna be based on similar size and similar revenue.
Okay.
Is what they're going to base it on. But we also told them that, you know, we're compared to the ones across the river from us. And so we also told them, you know, we would like to have those comparables with us because, you know, that's, you know, who our guys are mostly comparing themselves to, are the people across the river.
But they're only comparing the wage, correct?
They're only comparing, well, actually, I don't want to.
We've had several come back. when they
Well,
found
and
out.
we've got several that are well tenured, and it makes me think they're
Well,
staying here for a long time
well,
for a
the thing is
The
reason.
difference is we have our defined benefit plan. Most utilities have either a state retirement or some other different. Tuscany also has a defined benefit plan of some type. And so, so that's, you know, that's just the difference. The big benefit was when you employees could take a lump sum. And so current employees, it ended at what?
2021.
2021, you're no longer allowed to take a lump sum. So that was a huge benefit to employees. But moving forward, our retirement has changed when that was taken away. And so now they're only allowed to have an annuity, which is the same as the state does. So now, when that got taken away, our retirement was pretty much equalized with all the other people around us. Before, when they could take a lump sum, which a lot of our current employees can, we had the better retirement plan. But when that was taken away, our retirement plan is now
Well, I'm
the
gonna have to
same
say-
with everyone else's.
I'm gonna have to have, I need to see, I need to see that in black and white.
Well,
Because of state retirement, whatever your last 3 years of work is what you bring home when you retire.
A portion of it.
A portion of it, yes.
Not 100%.
Well, depending on how many years you have. If you've had your 25 years in, you bring home what you've made the last.
There's
3
also a
years.
factor though, they multiply, like if you're tier one, it's 2.0125 or something, times the years of service, times your last 3 annual wage. I mean, it's a formula, just like, it's a
Just
defined
like ours.
benefits, it's just, and the annuity for their plan is not gonna be what our annuity is. I'm gonna advocate for the plan on that,
Yeah.
but
And see, I'm hearing the
annuity
opposite from my utility people.
Them saying that, you know, everybody has to take an annuity at the end of the day, that does level the playing field.
Well, but there's so many other things too. You know, we offer a clinic and we offer these other things, and so all of that has to be
Yes.
a part of the overall
Yes.
package. And I know it will be. That
It will
doesn't
be.
worry me at all. So I think those are things that outweigh it in ways that, you know, you're right, Mayor. We need to see it in black and white.
And in this benefits analysis, that's actually what they'll do. So they'll actually list, like, they're gonna list the benefits, you know what I mean? To
They're gonna list
compare.
it, they're going to turn whatever percentage of fringe that we pay on the wage into a number. And they're gonna compare that amount that we pay toward employee benefits to what other communities are doing for their employees. So even if they say, we pay 100% of your benefits, if that value amount is 600 and our 40% is 1100, they're gonna be able to say, you know, it's not a percentage base, it's a value for benefits. So they're gonna be, they're very good.
well, I think a lot of people, and me included when I was working back early on, I mean, you look at your paycheck, what you're bringing home. Benefits, I never really included a value on benefits, although benefits, you find out later in life, benefits
Are very important.
important. Your hospital, I mean, your health insurance, how much, I mean, health insurance is high dollar. What do our employees pay for health insurance?
200 something a paycheck, is that
Single,
right?
if it's single, it's like $130 a paycheck.
You know, I mean, and actually, what the, I mean, you close to $1,000 a month on like a family plan, or maybe higher than
Probably
that
more than that.
now. I mean, this was back several years ago,
You pay a lot more than that.
you know, so, you know, that in itself is a wonderful benefit.
So what,
Save a lot of money. So, I mean, retirement's a piece of it, but you got health insurance and that fall into that too. And people don't realize that, all they're looking at,
Is
all I
their
looked
paycheck,
at
their pay,
was,
what Jackie
is
said,
what,
Yeah.
is their pay.
what I'm taking home.
so why don't we let that play out and decide if y'all wanna associate go ahead and post this. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm certainly not opposed to that. I do like the language of, I think it's important for us to have those, like a PE, that we, I mean, we don't want that to be a choice. If you're gonna work for us, we want the cream of the crop. I mean, if there's some way we assist, do we help with any expense for that, or?
We don't help with any, I mean, we're not allowed to help with any expenses for that. So,
What do other communities of similar size, if they had to post this today, what's the comparison? Do we know?
let me
That's a
pull
good
up
question.
TVPPA, just had one, but I don't know if it's still on there. Most places don't put a pay because, they just don't.
Who's our closest good comparison?
Joe Wheeler in Athens.
Okay.
So
Okay.
does Decatur have their own?
Be like-
Decatur is half the size of us.
So I guess the question is if
I
Athens
thought they were bigger.
and Florence are both trying to hire this engineer, and those job postings were compared,
Let me pull up and see if there is one here.
Well,
And again, it's just the money. We don't know the
Here's-
benefits.
yeah.
Here's
So-
one that's posted at Gallatin Department of Electricity at 36 to 39 an hour. It's a range. Do you know what this one falls in per hour?
It's 75 a year. It's
Divided
at the
by
SAM 6. So.
2050.
I should have brought my scale.
You need to all live and get it real fast.
So how many customers does Joe Wheeler have?
Joe Wheeler has just under 50,000. Mm-hmm. And then Coleman Co-op would also be really close to our size.
What is Joe Wheeler, what are the?
Joe Wheeler Co-op.
I know who they serve, I mean, what,
They serve,
Hartselle, Morgan,
So
they
Morgan
serve part of
County.
Hart. They don't really, they have Hart.
36.58.
Yeah, but part of the county, Morgan County.
Job posting,
Okay.
see, for sure.
I wasn't sure exactly what they covered.
Does Hartselle?
They serve
Hartselle
Moulton.
does electricity.
Hartsville
What
has
is
their
it?
own utility
serve
for the
that.
city.
Okay.
They serve all the areas in Morgan, Lawrence County that are not in a city except for Moulton. They serve the city of Moulton.
The Joe Wheeler's office has always been in
And
Hartselle.
I know that. it's
Well, no,
easy-
they have one actually outside of Moulton too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I know it's easy,
36 an
you know,
hour.
with
So theirs is
Compare
36 to
other
39.
shows and.
So we're
not-
at 36
Yeah.
is
So
where
we're
we
at
are.
But that would be
their
posted
range.
at the higher pay.
Okay. But again, we don't know the benefits.
But without a benefit comparison.
But this is Gallatin, which is a very small utility in Tennessee. And let me see if there's
And
another
if it
one.
went to the next level, what is that
It
salary?
would be this one, 75.
That was the 75.
That was the
That's a six.
75
So what's the 5?
72.
or 68, I thought.
Is it that low?
I think it's, I don't know, Melinda. I didn't bring it. I should
I
have brought
know.
it.
What human resource director doesn't care on the pay scale? Pocket pay scale.
Okay, get right on that one.
I know.
We need to
See,
send
get
that
my own
out for
pocket pay scale
creation.
made.
It's like a, what do you call those lab rules?
You get a tattoo on your forearm.
Oh, well, maybe.
It's a little
A
much,
chip,
but
a chip,
okay.
you look at.
Well, that's how the
Hold it
quarterbacks
up
do
on
it.
your
Put a QR code on and then just scan it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Well,
Well, the starting salary for the civil engineer to grade 6 is 77,477 annual salary from the job posting. Let me find the other.
And that was a 6.
Mm-hmm. Here's where it shows up though, if y'all would like to see it. It's when you click on it, under the job description, it shows it's a range.
36 to 39. That's Gallatin, Tennessee.
Just north of Nashville. Mm-hmm. Yep,
Cost of living there would be a little bit different than here too.
it would be,
More.
it would be more.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gallatin's the fastest growing city in the valley right now.
So
They got
that's
lots.
just gonna expand as far as like what their coverage area is. So they're small now, but won't be for long.
Because if I'm not mistaken, we posted that right before or just after the,
Let me call Liz, she can tell us.
but I'm saying, I don't know if his was posted prior to the budget, the increase in
For last year?
general wage adjustment, yeah.
Hey, would you do me a favor? Can you tell me what the per hour rate is for a grade 5 versus a grade 6?
Sam 5.
The Sam 5 and 6.
And Melinda, that's citywide, no matter what department, correct?
For those positions, yes, that's the problem. You know, when you're talking about all these things, I want to do them. You know, I think sometimes if we even if we don't say we're just gonna change the way we do everything, if we extend out our pay scale on the back end, because the way that it works is we give you
What's-
pretty much your
what's
earnings
the
on the
per
front
hour
end, and
pay?
then we make you wait 3 years to get a quarter. You know, if we were to say every year you could get a certain percentage of your wage, and then extend that out $10,000 per grade,
Thank you.
then you're paying more, but you're not upending the system. So these positions would fall into that because they're on the grade step, like I was talking about. Technical services are gonna be market studies, we don't have a tool for that, which is precisely why we didn't do it in our department. But other positions like that, we do have the tool, so to keep it consistent, that's how we do everybody's.
A 5 is 34.12 and a 6 is 37.25.
34 what?
34.12 is a 5 and a 6 is 37.25.
All right.
So, what have we decided about
It's
this?
about 71 on the grade 5.
So the topic was to allow this to be posted.
But to pause anything else until we get the analysis
Yeah.
back. But then caveat with that, if we believe we do need to broaden it, that will give Melinda a chance to visit with Mary and Tad about what that would look like. And then you would give us a recommendation on if you agree that we need to. So that's the,
I mean, to move forward with this,
one.
but, well, and I like that. I mean, we can't just keep coming
I
back and
agree.
coming back and coming back.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
I agree.
so I agree with Michelle
Okay.
on that, just on this particular one. Move forward on it.
And we're gonna move forward on just keeping it the hourly employees right now.
And then see when those come back, because, or do
No,
you,
if I understood you
You
right,
just
we were
wanted-
thinking we wanted a broader scope to be considered now, yes?
Well, not just on the electricity department, I
Right.
wasn't saying that. I'm saying that, you know, I need to come see you and let you educate me a little more on how we do things so that I can phrase my question properly. Because you know, I get feedback just like y'all do, I mean, you know, but I'm new, so I wanna make sure that I'm not being gullible too when people come to me and think, you know, there's a new person I can, you know, get mine in. But the one that got my most attention was the CDL comparison. When I had visited a department and they were complaining that their CDLs didn't make as much as other departments' CDLs, and I'm thinking a CDL's a CDL. And
was that
That's a-
recent?
well,
That's a wide variety. We
Yeah.
have a lot of
But, I
jobs that
mean-
require CDL, but it's, the CDL is, this is my opinion, falls in with what else is their line of work. Does that make sense?
yeah, I
Depending on
mean,
what ours
well,
is paid.
sometimes the job you're doing requires a
Yes.
CDL, but you're
Yes.
being paid for the job you're
For the
doing,
job.
not for the
Yes,
license. I
exactly.
understand that aspect.
That's right.
Another one that comes up would be tree trimmers for David as far as, and tree trimmers for Mary.
We've gotten those pretty comparable though in the last, we did some work in his department
Yeah.
and really did some great work.
And I think
Oh,
it's those
good.
areas
Good,
that I have the most questions about, because, yeah, if a tree trimmer comes to me from one department versus the other, they're doing it pretty much exactly the same job.
Well,
No,
you're
they're
gonna
not
have, that's where the
different. They're
factor comes in,
different.
so the electricity department, when they're trimming around power lines, is gonna have a larger element of danger than trimming on the side of, you know, in some, you know, in a right of way that's just, there's nothing around you that could be of any
Makes
danger.
sense.
So I mean, that's what I'm
So
saying,
how-
there's a lot more that factors in.
So how does that work? I mean, I've never even asked this question. All right, let's say they're both out. And I know David the other night, that basically getting trees out of the street, you know. So if they're out, both groups are out,
Our tree trimmers?
and theirs too. When would they, who would advise them, or are they, whoever's the supervisor for the street tree trimmers would say, no, we can't go there? How are they gonna communicate with y'all about that?
So the street department just gets trees out of the street. And our tree trimmers, we assign their locations of where we have the power outages and where we have trees in on our power lines. So we remove the power line, trees on the power lines, but they only remove the trees on the street.
Or in rights of way.
Or right away, yes.
So, but, all right, let's say you've come through there and you got some things down in the right of way. Will the street department come back and work on those, or y'all still do handle it?
We don't touch anything on the right of way. We'll get it out of the right of way if we can't drive through the road, but we will not pick up, we will not cut except just to get it out of our way. But we don't do anything in the right of way.
So there's another level of training that goes into those trimmers as well to deal
We
with the
do.
power.
Yeah, and we do a yearly training with them yearly, just to make sure they are on top of their game.
You usually, we haven't gotten that yet this year. You do that through the council. We will approve that training. Are you calling for a vote, Mr.
So we got a
Chairman?
motion to approve the position to a 6, but put a hold on any other positions until we receive the compensation study. Is that
That would be the motion.
the motion that I hear?
And
And you made
then,
it,
I will make that, yes, sir.
a second,
Okay.
all in favor?
thank you. And then, moving forward, you know, when you all decide that you wanna move forward with the rest of them, you all are gonna let Melinda know after you have that conversation. And this contract was just for us, so if you move forward with the city, it would have to be another contract.
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We are good to go on
So
that. Thank you.
You and
Yes.
gas and water.
Yes, yes.
So-
Okay.
So those 42 positions, all right, let's say they didn't use them all. They couldn't be directed to anything except electricity, gas, and
Correct.
water.
Utilities.
Okay.
Anything else?
I do have a couple things I wanna tell you about before I put it on the council.
All right.
So, we are going
Mr.
to,
Chairman.
with your permission and approval, enter into a contract with Stewart Engineering. Thank you, Melinda, I appreciate it. We, have a map right now that you all look at and you see it when it's out of power. But it's never been created into a model where we can actually model our system with different loads and like for future looking of where we need to address any issues. And so we are going to, Stewart Engineering will do that for us. They will take our map and they will create it in a model with it so we can use it for, you know, load analysis, fault current, arc flash analysis. And so, I'm going to present the next council meeting for a contract with them as a per hourly
Is this the
rate.
map that would
Yes,
be in the
it's used.
dispatch room? Yeah.
Yep. So,
It's up on the wall.
Yes.
yes, and it's computerized, but like I said, we just don't have, it's just a map right now, and we want it to be able to put it in, it's called a windmill model, and we can like I said, model our system, it puts all of our wire sizes, and it puts all the, where we're fed from TVA, all the impedances, so we have real live accurate information, and we can adjust it as things change. Does that make sense?
What's that
That's
contract cost?
Stewart Engineering?
Cost.
Oh, it's a per hour cost.
Right.
So is that an open-ended contract?
No, they're gonna give us a price that it's gonna cost for the project, but the contract will actually be a per hour cost.
Based on who is activated at what time, are we maxing out the number of hours we will ask for?
And I will share when he gives me a final analysis on that.
I would prefer to do that, please.
Yeah, well, I want the contract to be this, so we can use them for different things in the future, but I will share with you what he shares with me about the cost.
With all of
Yes,
us,
I will
please,
do
yes.
that. Yep.
So, does this, because we'll have instead of a static map, this is more of a live map.
Correct.
And so, does this help us with our outages and our sustainability?
It helps
with
us with our reliability, not outages per se, but it will, that's the whole reason that we wanna do it, because after they finish that, we're actually gonna get them to help us do a 5-year plan.
Wait. Is that
Beyond
not what AMI is doing? We should get those automatic updates anyway?
No, AMI's giving us meter reads.
Right, but isn't it supposed to report back to you when the meter's out?
Yes, it will.
Okay, which is also real time.
Well, but this is, what I'm talking about, this will give us our system model. So we can go in and say, okay, with our AMI data, which is the reason we're doing this now.
Right.
So once we have our AMI data, we have number 2 wire on this feeder. Okay, so how close are we to maxing out this number 2 wire? And as we grow, how soon are we going to have to replace it? So that's exactly what we're going to use that information for, and how it's going to tie to this model.
And the two systems will communicate. Okay,
Yes.
that's going to be a
Yes.
critical
It's gonna be
component.
huge.
Because you're supposed to be in District 4, like now, doing AMI. Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
So,
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to use it for. So
Okay.
So what
It's gonna
this,
be great.
what that does, it puts it on your big map.
Well, we already have our big map.
Right.
This will just give us to where we can do analysis on our, it'll create us a model to do analysis for. So when, like Michelle just said, when we get our AMI data in there, you know, we'll say, okay, well, this feeder has 112 amps on it. Well, it's just number 2 wire, and it only can take 180 amps. So, you know, how much more time are we gonna have as this area grows until we have to replace, you know, our primary? So
So
then
that-
the same with substations.
Will that
Yes.
work with transformers too?
Transformers too.
Okay.
So instead of waiting for a failure, we can
Yes.
predict the failure in
Oh,
advance.
so
Yes.
it'll give you basically a deferred maintenance list,
Yes.
and that you can work. Oh.
Yeah, and that's some of the things that I am hoping we move forward with,
Well,
is with the
we do,
reliability.
I agree, and this is kind of we had to get AMI going first. And once AMI is gonna be completed in December, then this is like next step.
That's-
So we like to have this in place by the time AMI is complete, so we can really be able to do a really better job of reliability. For predicting for the future problems, does that make sense?
I still just see that 2%
You got,
margin.
you got,
Well, which is not enough.
Makes me,
It's
not
no,
enough.
and it's like,
You've said 100 times today, where's the money coming from when I look
So
at
when
the
I was,
budget?
and we'll have a quick discussion about this, okay? So,
other thing.
I'm gonna be truthful with you, okay?
We would expect no less, Mary.
So our system has not had a lot of maintenance in the last 30 years. And the reason for, because there's just not money there to do it, okay?
It's what?
Not money there to do it, which is why TVA has come back and said, we need to increase our rates by $9 million because we've got to start working on our system.
By $9 million.
So, yeah, and so we have started a whole process with substations, which you all know that. We are diligently working on getting our substations updated. And a good example for why is because, yes, 2 days ago, Center Star substation just imploded, started smoking. The whole station fell. Thankfully, it's one of the cabinet stations. We kept all of our extra pieces from where Norwood failed and where we're replacing Shoals Creek, and we were able to piece it all back together to get it re-energized. So
was there redundant power there, or did people?
there is
lose
redundant power. We
Did
switched
people-
it around.
Was there an outage?
There was a short outage until we had it switched around.
Okay,
And so Center Star is actually our next substation to replace. Is the first whenever we get we've ordered the material, but it's probably going to be first of the year before we get it off here. And so that's the next one we're going to replace. And so we are really diligently trying to update substations, and we've got a plan of where, you know, the ones that need to be done and so forth. But on top of that, we need to do the same on pole replacement. And so we are going to look at this budget year to put money in place to hire a contractor to come in and start replacing poles for us for maintenance. We can't do it all ourselves. We just can't do it.
how many
This
poles
is
do we
what-
have?
That's
We
the,
have 65,000 poles. An
Okay.
average lifespan of poles, 40 to 50 years, which means we should be replacing 1,500 a year. We're not doing that.
so I know we have a contract in the last several years where you hired somebody that went in
Osmos.
and ran the poles and checked them and resealed them and that kind
Yes.
of thing.
Yes. So we are going to get a bid document together with, if you all are agreeing to this, and we're gonna put, I'm looking at probably starting about $500,000 this budget to, do kind of a pilot project to see how this goes. And if we're happy with doing, I mean, we don't have a choice but use contracts, like I said, we just don't have enough staff in place. And then grow it every year moving forward. Does that make sense? And most utilities, this is what they do. 90% of them, this is what they do. So we just don't have the money in our budget to do it.
Yeah, you're
Kind of
So-
like a paving project, but with poles.
Yeah,
Sort
pretty
of.
much.
So,
So
are those wood poles or concrete
wood
poles?
poles, and of course the transmission would be steel or concrete poles, depending. So that's something that we're looking into this budget. So when you see that in the, you know, of course you'll see, we'll have to bid it out, and but we want to be ready with the bid documents, so when the budget's approved in May, that we can go ahead and start the bid process, so we can start the projects in July when our budget starts. Does that make sense?
So that Center Star outage
Mm-hmm.
is what drives people crazy.
Is what drives people crazy.
When it's a storm,
Mm-hmm.
people understand. They know trees blow down. It's those interruptions that people come to me and say, I don't understand why my power goes out so much. And yeah, the root of that is probably this preventive maintenance, and that's,
Tree trimming, all those kinds of things.
well, but, you know, substations, failure, lightning strikes where we don't have, you know, and so I'm gonna advocate with you on preventive maintenance costs. Now, within reason of where budget is, 'cause we do have to balance that against rate increases, because people don't want their power to go out, but they don't want a rate increase either.
I
So,
agree.
so
I
we have to
agree.
kinda, how do we make that blend and work? But I'm so happy to see you're doing that.
So we are,
How
go
big
ahead.
is the crew that will do this? Like when you say we're gonna start $500,000 as a pilot program, see if it works, and then maybe grow it much like we do the paving. How big will that crew be that does this?
I think it will depend on what they wanna send. I'm guessing a 4-person crew,
And so it would
maybe
be,
a 5-person.
it's
crew.
more cost effective for us to do it this way than to try to hire or attempt to hire people
So we've tried to hire linemen in the past.
to do this exact work.
Well, just to increase our numbers.
Mhm.
And the 2 that we have hired, and that were hired in the last, we'll say 15 years, have both left because they are they travel, you know, they work different storms and so forth, and we can't compete with that pay of what they're making on the road.
Like a travel nurse.
Does that make sense?
It does. You're putting this to me and I'm mulling over it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
glad we don't have to vote on this today because I
Yes.
can see me asking you more questions about this one
Yeah, I can too.
because I don't. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, you would be slapping me, going, "Would you stop asking questions?"
And the thing about it is, I don't know, too, so like, you know, I'm looking at putting $500,000 in this year, and I don't even know until I bid out how much that would even,
What that's gonna do.
what's that gonna be?
And see, that's my
I don't know.
concern.
I don't
It's
know.
like, it's an unknown, and I think this one is one that we're going to have to keep an eye on because is it where we? I don't know. There's just this
Yeah.
one's new, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So
That's why I thought I would just
So
throw it out
We
there.
have to go. We
They
gotta
would,
go.
Yeah.
they would set the pole, but then we
Sure.
come back and move the lines.
No, they will do everything.
Okay.
Yep.
was that it, Mary?
I have one more
Yeah.
thing.
What you
Can
got?
I have one quick thing. I've shared this with you before, have a joint cost study that tells us how much we can pay percentage for every department that we use their people from. And like, so we are having to redo that with AMI, and so we are gonna have a contract for Jackson Thornton Authority. Jackson, not Authority. I keep saying Authority because there's a utility in Tennessee that's Jackson Authority. It's Jackson Thornton Certified Public Accountants are gonna come in and do a new joint cost study for us. It's been 10 years since we've done one, and it's gonna be at the cost $19,500.
And it's a cost analysis.
It's, so basically this deals with percentages of that we pay, so like for water, gas, electric, TVA requires us to have this, first of all. And so TVA used to do this themselves, but they don't do it anymore, so they gave us some people that we could use, and this is the one that we have chosen. But for instance, for Mark's job, control of utilities, it shows, you know, the electricity department is to pay 50%, and it says other lines of business is 50%. So, you know, this tells us the percentage that we pay of each position. And this will change with AMI, and so we are having to have this reevaluated.
What?
And the payment center, this is not included in this also, so it's also, you know, we can't pay any rent from the payment center until we get a
What
permission
budget
from
year?
TVA. This will not go into effect until AMI is finished, because
Oh.
these will be,
That's next year.
it'll be the end of this year.
Oh,
And so this will be the numbers that we will use once AMI is complete.
So
Because
that will, this request
Mhm.
would be.
we'll go
put-
now, because they were gonna have, they said it would take them a couple months to have it
So
prepared.
you're asking these funds to come out of this year's
This year's
budget?
budget. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then they will prepare, they said it'll take a couple months, they'll have to come in, sit down with all the, you know, people and have a conversation with everybody, so it's gonna take some time to prepare it, so we'll have it in place.
Is
for
there
when
still
it-
money in the budget line item for that?
Mhm.
Okay.
and
Yeah, this was something we knew we were gonna have to do.
And I know we're
Here.
done, but I have another question for you about that I'll email and I'll include the whole
Okay,
group.
we gotta go.
Yes, I know.
All right, we got it downstairs.
I've got to go to another meeting
Thank
too.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm
Are you going
sorry.
Appreciate
to,
it.
are you going to the tour, Michelle?
I am.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Mary, I will email that to you because as you were talking, I had another question based on the other analysis that we had agreed to do. So I just want to make sure that we're not having a double, not a double dip, but double work to do the same thing. So it sounds like it's not, just I need that in, I need
Okay, which
need-
topic?
the analysis, the cost
Okay.
analysis that you've just mentioned with the accounting group versus the one that we just approved on.
Oh, no, that's completely different.
Right, but that's
Yes,
what I need to
yes.
know a little bit more about. So I'll
Okay,
email you.
okay,
Don't
thank
feel
you.
like you have to say something
Yes,
now.
and I'll probably call you because it's a lot to it.
No, I totally
So
get
I'll
it.
probably call, or just call me and I'll explain.
Well, I want the others to have the benefit of the
Okay,
information
okay,
too.
okay, okay.
So
That
thank
works.
you, thank
Uh-huh,
you.
uh-huh.
David, we are out, so I will see you. I hope you have a great Easter.